I want to swing it to you first when we kick off this NFL recap. Everyone wanted to hear your thoughts on the loss, but go ahead and let us know your thoughts on the San Francisco 49ers bouncing back against the Dallas Cowboys and winning 30 to 24.
I mean, it was just a pure ass kicking. It's nothing short of what it's looked like the past couple of years every time the Niners play the Cowboys. I get the final score indicates that the game was close. The game was pretty much over in the third quarter. The Cowboys were up 10-6 at halftime, and the score somehow just flips to it's 30 to 10. And it's just okay, we get it. At the end, it got a little weird. A lot of garbage. CD Lamb's running wide open. Jake Ferguson's making plays. The Cowboys rushed for 56 yards. Brock Purdy rushed for 56 yards by himself yesterday. I don't know if that means he's Michael Vick, but Purdy's able to definitely make some plays with his legs. He did not turn the ball over yesterday, which was a good sign because the week prior, he had a horrendous three pick extravaganza. I'd like to say when Brock Purdy throws interceptions, he's not going to throw one. He's going to throw three. I do think what he's been able to do. A lot of people kind of criticize him for he's got weapons here, weapons there, weapons over here. Well, he had Ricky Pearsall, who is a rookie. Deebo Samuel was in and out of the lineup. He did have George Kittle. We had Isaac Guerrero, a rookie running back that we drafted in the 6th or 7th round. And Purdy was able to get the job done. I thought that, obviously, it being National Tight End Day we tried to, get the ball to Kittle in any which way we could because he usually plays really well against the Cowboys. Obviously, last week, the Niners against the Chiefs, it was a horrendous sighting. Obviously, at home, you forced Patrick Mahomes into 2 turnovers, and you still lose by double digits. That's unacceptable. I get Brandon Ayuk's out for the year. We do have Ricky Pearsall. I'm not saying he's going to replace him, but after the bye week, after this win, you're kind of looking at, okay, who's coming back after the bye? Jawan Jennings is supposed to be coming back. Pearsall is going to get another week of practice. Debo is going to be healthy. You get Kittle already. CMC is supposed to be coming back. I would like to see the Niners try to trade for something at the trade deadline. In particular, Deontay Johnson, the receiver that Kevin has on his bench. So if he gets traded to the Niners, Kevin would love that acquisition. I think there's a bunch of guys out there. I think there's a bunch of guys out there that we can kind of look at. Cortland Sutton's another guy. I think there's guys that are still not signed, like they're still free agents. There are still guys out there. A guy who I don't think anyone's talking about is Michael Thomas.
Flat boy.
He could be a big body guy that I think would add a different element to our offense. Obviously, he's more of a big body receiver, slant boy, as Kev says. He's a guy that I've looked at that you could probably make something out of. But the guy who's been playing more is definitely Deontay Johnson. He's been in a bunch of trade talks. And we're seeing a bunch of receivers get we saw Devontae Adams get traded. We saw DeAndre Hopkins get traded. So what's it going to take to get I wouldn't say Deontay's not a veteran wide receiver, but who's a guy that we can kind of go out and get that can kind of, plug and play for a year, and he's on an expiring because obviously we're paying Brandon Ayuk a shit ton of money, and he is not able to play. So it has to make sense financially for us. Like I said, we're getting a bunch of guys back. If Dre Greenlaw, I think Hufanga is supposed to be coming back. Christian McCaffrey, like if we're able to get those guys back and we're able to operate at a high level, I feel like the Niners are going to be a team that I feel like most people are saying that like the Niners they're playing like shit right now, but they're still 500. So it's like they're a team that you don't want to like shut the door on because they're getting healthier and they're able to do this, without their top guys. So definitely a team to watch out for in the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not here like I usually am boasting about how we're better than the Eagles. We're better than right now. We're not one of those teams. We give up leads. We go up double digits, and we like the Cardinals lost. We were up 10. The Rams lost. We were up 14. And those are 2 losses that you would like to have back. I mean, I feel like the only 2 games we really lost was the Vikings game and the Chiefs game. So we should be like what? I don't even know what that would be. 6-2 technically. So I mean, when you shoot yourself in the foot against these are divisional games that we're dropping. So that's like bad. You can't be dropping divisional games because when it comes down to it, the math is like, okay, the Cardinals, they got to win over you. The Rams, they got to win over you. And they're ahead of us in the division. Now, we have the tiebreaker against Seattle, but those two teams, I feel like they're going to fall off a little bit just based off of what I've seen in the past. But, I mean, it's a new day. Kyler's freaking playing out of his ass. And as I already mentioned with Matthew Stafford, when he's healthy and he has all his guys, they're humming at a high rate. So, Niners beat the shit out of the Cowboys. Nothing new. I don't know how good the Cowboys are. The Cowboys are kind of stuck. They got to pay Michael Parsons. They paid a shit ton of money to CD Lamb, and Dak Prescott's making $60 million to throw multiple interceptions. Cowboys are stuck. I think they're just one of those teams. These Eagle fans on the show can probably agree with you. Like, they probably are licking their chops the week that they're playing against Dallas. Kaz has mentioned on the podcast in previous shows before that the Cowboys don't lose at home. The Cowboys have been dropping games every which way. So it's like Cowboys are in wounded animal mode, and a bunch of people are looking at them like, oh, this is a get right game for us. And that's what I thought this was for us. This was definitely a get right game for us because what Dallas has looked like in previous showings hasn't been good. So especially that we were hurt. Another thing for the Niners is I feel like we should sign a running back. Like, God, we have literally no running backs.
Fallen piece after piece.
Jordan Mason's hurt. Like, it was only a matter of time that he was going to fall apart. And we have Garendo. I get it. He balled his ass out, but he left the game yesterday. So it's like when he's not in the game, we need to sign a running back, trade for a running back, something, because our running back depth is not where it needs to be. People keep talking about Elijah Mitchell. I don't think he's coming back this year. He's been a guy that's been fighting injuries. I get when he's in the game, he's one of the better backup running backs in the league, but he just can't get on the field. So Niners, I feel definitely during the bye week have to make some moves. We made a move at our bye week when we traded for Christian McCaffrey. So we've kind of been at the trade deadline. We've been busy. So I would like to see what type of moves they make, because right now, as the roster is constrained of right now, I think there's a move to definitely be made.
All right, Kaz, I'm going to swing to you next. The Packers beat the Jaguars 30-27.
You said Packers beat Jags. What was the score again?
30-27.
The fact that it was that close was crazy. I mean, I didn't catch most of this game. I did have it on the TV in front of me when I was out at the bar watching, but we were too locked in on, I believe the Ravens game was the same time, and that was wild. But what I'll say is it wasn't fun seeing Jordan Love, become another, just wounded deer again. I think that you take away the fact that he's pretty banged up. That game's probably not the same as it doesn't have the same kind of finish. But at the end of the day, man, the Jaguars did what they needed to do. I know that BTJ, he had a really good game. Can't remember. Tank Bigsby, of course, as well. But all in all, I mean, the Packers are outside of the fact that early in the season they were, who was his name? Their cornerback. What's his name?
For who?
The Green Bay.
Yeah,
no, not him, but I'm thinking of somebody else actually. Never mind. I'm thinking of the guy on Minnesota. Who's got all the picks? God damn it, what's his name? McKinney?
Xavier McKinney. He's a safety for the Packers.
Yeah. So, God damn it. So, sorry, brain fart. But like early on in the season, they were leading the league significantly when it comes to turnovers because of that secondary. And then it kind of slowed down a tad bit. But like all in all, like the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be a team, because they're a bad team. They're going to be a team, though, that they're going to have their moments because they do have guys that can make plays. Like Evan Ingram is no joke. Obviously, like I mentioned, BTJ, he's not a joke. You got Tank Bigsby, who I think actually might low-key be better than Travis Etienne. And then just give Trevor a little bit of time. He's going to make some mistakes. But if you guys don't get to the quarterback enough and like literally force turnovers, I mean, you're gonna be in a crapshoot against a team like the Jaguars. And it's not saying a lot about the Jacksonville Jaguars offense because again, they are trash. But like most bad teams, you let them hang around for a while. Again, I think they're throwing the ball a lot. Okay, they're pulling out everything out of their playbook. What can we do to win this game? So Green Bay being the better team, I mean, they were supposed to win that game. I'm surprised it was close as it was, but not really much to say about it outside of the fact that, even the sun shines on a dog's ass some days. You know what I'm saying? So the Jaguars put together a solid performance and they still end up losing like they were supposed to. I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about that game. I hope Jordan Love is okay. I actually don't know what the final result of his injury was, but I'm hoping that it's not something where he's out for multiple weeks yet again, because we need for that division to stay strong. So shout out to the Packers for pulling off the dub. That's what good teams do. Like I mentioned about the Chiefs time and time again. Doesn't matter how you win as long as you're winning. So Packers find a way to win, and I think that they deserve that.
I agree. And moving on to the next game, 28-27, the Arizona Cardinals ruined Tua's bounce-back game. We keep talking about the Rams and the Niners and the Seahawks. We got to start giving the Cardinals their respect. Kyler Murray is showing this year that if you give him the proper weapons, he can be that guy, that Heisman winner, that former number 1 overall pick. He's beating the Call of Duty narratives. For him to throw for 307 and 2 touchdowns, he's going out there and single-handedly carrying this game, whether it's last week him running in a game-winning touchdown, either to him dissecting the team with Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison. Trey McBride on National Tight End Day put on a show. 9 catches for 124 yards. If he can consistently go and they can consistently find Marvin Harrison, James Conner always finds himself in the end zone. He's like the Kyron Williams and Devontae Montgomerys. He's always going to find himself in the end zone. And for the Miami Dolphins, it was great to see Tua back. I have Achane and Tyreek Hill on my fantasy team, so I had to suffer a couple of those losses to bounce back. Tyreek Hill with 72 yards receiving, and Devon Achane with 97 yards receiving and 97 rushing and 50 receiving. This offense, you saw that was explosive week in after week out. Last year, even the first weekend, a couple weeks before Tua went down. So to see this team bounce back, yes, they didn't get the W, which is always the main goal, but to see Tua get out there, slide for once, it was really good for the Dolphins. They have a lot coming, especially with the Jets. This division for the second place is wide open, and then they might be able to sneak and get one of those wild card spots. But talking about this division, Toddy, the New England Patriots beat the New York Jets 25-22.
I saw that Drake May went out in this game. I think he got a concussion. The Jets are a hot mess. You fire Saleh and you went 0-2 since he's been fired. Aaron Rodgers, he didn't play bad, but he wasn't the solution to the victory. You had, I think they had multiple chances to kind of win this game. I think their kicker was like missing a bunch of field goals in this game, to the point where if he would have made at least 1 or 2 of his field goals, Jets probably come out on top. This is a team in the Jets who previously, earlier this year on Thursday Night Football, they obliterated the New England Patriots. They didn't even score a touchdown. Do you guys remember who the co-head coach was in that game? I believe it was Bobby Saleh. Now it's like, okay, let's get Devontae Adams. Okay, can Devontae rush the passer? Can he block? Because Devontae is we all know at one point in time, he was a top 5 receiver. I'd say it's tough right now, given on how he's been playing in recent years, but he has the talent to be a top 5 guy. You add him to the roster, you would think that kind of puts duct tape on the broken glass. But, I mean, nothing's really transpired for them. They got Hassan Reddick back. That was supposed to be, Hassan's coming back. Now everybody's in trouble. The Jets are 2-6. I don't know if you guys saw the Michael Scott meme of it's the 2-6 Patriots and the 2-6 Jets. And it's like Michael Scott when he had like a big ass mullet. And he's like shaking hands with like the boss. And it's like the same. It's the same. So, the Patriots, we don't believe they're going anywhere. Are the Jets? I picked them to win this division. They're a shit team right now. So, it's the Bills' division to lose at this point.
Moving on, Kaz. We see the hat that you're wearing. We know the tattoo that you have. So go ahead and show some love to the Philadelphia Eagles going on the road, hoo-day, and beating the Bengals 37-17.
I would say I owe my team an apology for picking the Bengals to win. this week when it comes to our picks, but I don't, and I'm going to stick to my guns and say what I've said on Twitter and what I've even said, I believe, today on this podcast. I said I need to see the consistency with what we got going on. But I will say this: I'm very glad it happened. Very, very glad it happened. Just finally, the performance that I wanted to see through and through, from the defense to the offense. This is the Philadelphia Eagles that I know can exist. Some people hate it. Actually, my roommate was throwing a fit about, Jalen Hurts' 3 rushing touchdowns. He only had 1 actual rushing touchdown, and the other 2 was just that stupid tush-push bullshit. I'm like, that's fine. Okay, so let's just go ahead and just take away the fact we called a rushing touchdown. What does he get any sort of credit for being the guy with the ball, performing the maneuver? And if it's so easy, why doesn't everybody else do it successfully? You know what I mean? Like that's my only question. So at the end of the day, you got Jalen Hurts, 16 for 20, pretty much surgical. Didn't need to throw over 20 times. He had 236 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 rushing touchdowns. Okay, lights out. And at the same time, you still had Saquon getting another 100-yard game, 108 yards on 22 carries. Perfect. Like literally perfection outside of he didn't get in the end zone. You obviously know who we got as receivers. We got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, 1 yard apart, 85 yards for Smitty, 84 yards for A.J. Brown. Smitty found the end zone. It's just one of those things where you look at that Eagles offense and you're like, man, and we're still not playing to our potential. We're still doing this without Dallas Goedert. Lane Johnson went out for a little bit too. He got banged up, I think it was like a play or two, and he came right back in. But regardless, you had that scare of him going out. Still no Jordan Mailata. This team does have the potential to be a Super Bowl caliber team. I'm just going to hold my tongue for right now and wait till I see them do what I've seen other teams do, and that is completely dominate. So this is one. I want to see it again. We play the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, next week. I better see something very similar to this, if not worse. Very, very similar. So shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles for winning. I'm not going to say much about the Bengals. I think that the Eagles coming in this game, we're probably going to be the better team. Our defense stepped the fuck up. Shout out to Vic Fangio. I mean, our defense is playing great. Jacoby Dean is honestly, man, he's looking like a guy who he won't win it because it's not possible for a guy of his stature to win it. But he's playing like a defensive player of the year. You know what I'm saying? Comeback player of the year. Sorry. Comeback player of the year. Where it's like, you were a guy we were talking about, he shouldn't even be on this team. This is a terrible draft pick. Being a relentless force week in, week out. A lot of Eagles fans are eating the words when it comes to Jacoby Dean. Quinton Mitchell, I mean, he's looking like he could possibly be defensive rookie of the year. He's in the talks. I think he's like 3rd or 4th right now in the standings when it comes to defensive rookie of the year. And then all in all, just only allowing 17 points when you got guys like Jamar Chase, no T. Higgins, but you still got Joe Burrow out there. You know what I'm saying? Jamar Chase, how many you have? I think he had what? He had a touchdown. I know that. But outside of that touchdown, 54 yards.
Yeah, he didn't do much of nothing.
He went 9 for 54 yards.
Yeah. So what that tells me is that they were just trying to give him the ball on a lot of short passes to force him to turn to shit to sugar, and he couldn't do it because the Eagles defense stepped up. So just a really good win by the Eagles on the road again. I mean, you guys got to think that we're not playing a lot of home games right now. We're really not. We played, I believe, we were in Brazil for one of them, so that didn't count. And I think we had two now? Only 2 home games? What's going to happen here? I don't know yet. But again, solid dominant performance by the Philadelphia Eagles on offense and defense. Let's do it again at least one more time. I would like a couple more times. And then we could talk about us being a true Super Bowl contender. So Philadelphia, continue to prove me wrong.
Man, talking about proving people wrong, I have been the biggest Anthony Richardson fan. The biggest. And time after time, he has let me down. The Houston Texans win 23-20. And I know the running narrative is he subbed himself out. He got tired, and he subbed himself out. We saw this offense with Joe Flacco look amazing. Like we talked about with the Cleveland Browns, you insert a quarterback, and it just rejuvenates an offense. I told Toddy, if Anthony Richardson's not throwing it 60 yards down the field, you might as well run the ball. 10-32, 175 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They have the weapons. They have Jonathan Taylor. They have Adonai Mitchell. They have Michael Pittman Jr. They have Josh Downs. All they're missing right now is the quarterback. So if they can get better quarterback play, this team might be able to flip some things. The Houston Texans now possibly losing Stephon Diggs to an ACL or meniscus. They haven't confirmed anything yet, but they're saying it was a knee injury. The Jacksonville Jaguars are getting injured. So the Indianapolis Colts, if they can figure this quarterback thing out, can be in the nick of things for especially this division. But that was one of the biggest things that I took away is that Anthony Richardson is week in after week out destroying this team. So, Toddy, I'm going to swing it to you next. Talking about someone destroying a team. The Detroit Lions destroy the Tennessee Titans 52-14.
Yeah, I mentioned it. They are my number 2 team in in my top 5. I kind of briefly mentioned that they had 35 points at halftime. I'm looking up and I'm trying to figure out how are Jared Goff had 30-something pass yards? How are they scoring? But it's there's interceptions. There's, they're getting good field position, punt returns, kick returns. The Lions I'd say right now the Lions are the best team in the NFC. I think you guys could probably agree with that. Kevin has said on numerous accounts, the only team I really fear in the NFC is the Lions. And I think when Jared Goff, like I said, he's been playing at a extremely high rate of, not throwing incompletions. And you have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, those guys, they're going to be able to, run the clock on numerous occasions. And, oh, by the way, they have a guy in Sam Laporta who's one of the best young tight ends in the league. Oh, they got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who George Pickens called a slot merchant. I think he's one of the better receivers in the league. He's getting paid like it. So, and I think a thing that kind of goes unnoticed with the Lions is they have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. And led by a guy in Penei Sewell who's been paid handsomely for his services. I think the offensive line has been playing outstanding, not really allowing any sacks on Jared Goff and being able to push the other team's defensive line forward or backwards by letting those guys, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, pretty much just run roughshod on the entire NFL. So the Lions are a scary team. They're out for blood after obviously losing the NFC Championship game last year. And I believe they only have one loss, if I'm not mistaken. And that was to I am blanking on who they lost to. I'm pretty sure you guys could probably.
The Lions? I can look for you real quick.
But the Lions are just, they're just one of those teams where it's all right, they got the quarterback, they got a good coach, they got a good run game. They
lost to Baker.
Oh, that's right. To Baker. Baker probably put up a shit ton of points because the Bucs are a team that could score. And the Lions are a team that a lot of people are okay, they're probably the best team in the NFC. I think I can speak for all of us that the Lions are the best team in the NFC right now. So watch out for the Lions.
All right, Kaz, I'm going to swing it to you next. The Los Angeles Chargers beat the New Orleans Saints 26-8.
Yeah, Saints suck, bro. Suck. I feel bad for Spencer Rattler. They're trying to have him go out there and do what, man? You got Chris Olave out there. I mean, first off, so can somebody please tell me what happened with Chris Olave? Because I look up at one point and he's on the ground, like completely destroyed, right? And then the next thing I know, I'm looking at the box score and I'm like, he has 107 yards. So I'm like, and then I'm also reading oh, this is his 5th concussion in the last there was somebody, I think this is his 5th concussion in since he's been in the league. He had one last year, he had one the last 2 years, and he had 2 in one season, I believe it was. And he quietly had a game, but the Saints only accumulated 8 points. They got the safety. They got the safety, I think it was. And then what? Nothing on offense, just 2 field goals. That was it. If I'm not mistaken.
Nope.
Just overall, just a bad performance because of the fact that they don't have who they need to win games. They're going against the Chargers, who, as of right now, they're 4-3. They're not playing bad football for what they got. The Chargers have went back from having an offense that could put up a lot of yards to the air. I mean, we all know about Justin Herbert being a guy who's put up, I believe he has a 5,000 yard season, right? Was it the second year or something like that? Either way, multiple years since his rookie year, second year, third year, whatever it was, for sure, of having well into at least 4,000 yards passing. And now all of a sudden, a complete different team. They're running the ball. They're playing very just solid base defense, and that's it. They're playing old-fashioned football, and it's working for them. Not really much to say about the Saints, but when it comes to the Chargers, I mean, Herbert, 20 of 32 for 279, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. You guys got to understand that Herbert's not just a name. He's a guy. He's been a guy, and people are watching this guy still do it, okay, with nobody. All right, that's the difference between a guy like Spencer Rattler. Again, nothing against him. He wasn't supposed to be on the same caliber as Herbert, and Justin Herbert. Who are Herbert's receivers? I don't know. Lad McConkey, 111 yards. Joshua Palmer, 72 yards. Will Dissly, tight end, 41 yards. Then you go to the run game. J.K. Dobbins wasn't supposed to be a guy. He's apparently a guy. Then second rushing was Justin Herbert with 49 yards rushing. So you had J.K. Dobbins, 57 yards, Herbert, 49 yards rushing. Herbert literally surgical through the air for the most part. And he's doing it with, again, a guy by the name of Lad McConkey. Good teams find ways to win. Good quarterbacks find ways to win. Justin Herbert is obviously a great quarterback. Spencer Rattler is obviously not. The Saints are riddled with injury. They're going to need Derek Carr and everybody back as soon as possible. And unfortunately, that's just not going to happen. So shout out to Chris Olave for having a solid game for once. No Rashid Shaheed, no Derek Carr. It's just not looking like this Saints team is going to be able to hang, especially with Atlanta and the Buccaneers. They're obviously going to be the front runners when it comes to that division. It sucks that the Bucs have lost who they lost because this could be a really good fight down the stretch between the Falcons and the Bucs. But at the end of the day, the Saints were never going to be a team that's going to be a problem when it comes to that division because of the fact that they can't do it without two guys for the most part. So Saints lose 8-26. They look terrible. Chargers handle them pretty easily for the most part. And it could have been a lot worse than that. So Chargers win, should have won. And they're obviously the team that I picked to win this game as well. So.
Yes, sir, Toddy. So you said you were hurting. You said you were in some pain. We saw you on your Instagram story talking about a video when you have your son on you and you win a parlay. You said you had the opposite feeling. The Commanders let you down, or the Bears let you down. The Washington Commanders beat the Bears 18-15.
Yeah, so early morning, Kevin calls me every Sunday morning to figure out what the lay is. And I kind of was on the fence about what game I was going to bet. I had a straight bet on the Philadelphia Eagles. I got them at plus 120. I ended up winning, I think, a little bit under 400. So I rolled that over into afternoon games, and I keep telling Kevin, we'll probably get into that a little bit after the show, about the COD money. I'm trying. Kevin's like, just cash out, man. Just go. You got it. You got it, man. You're good. So I'm like, hey, we still got the afternoon games, Kevin. And Kev just rolls his eyes and looks at me like this guy's a degenerate. Had the Bills and I had the Bears in the 2-team parlay. Bears are playing like shit. Obviously, you guys saw the score of the Seattle game, the Bills Seattle game. They kind of just stomped them. It wasn't really close. So all my attention was on the Bears game, and the Bears were playing like shit for literally 3 quarters. But the only thing that was keeping them in the game was their defense. Between the 20s, I said this earlier when I was talking about top 5 teams. The Commanders were basically getting whatever they wanted in between the 20s. They get down to the red zone. The Bears kind of tighten up, and they force them to kick field goals. We saw them. They played the Giants earlier in the year, and they weren't able to score touchdowns, but they were able to get in the red zone, and they had a couple of red zone woes. We saw that again with the Bears, and I think this Bears defense is definitely legit, one of the better defenses in the league. Caleb Williams played like ass for 3 quarters. I'd say until late in the third, they got DeAndre Swift broke down the sideline, and all of a sudden, it was like 12-0. So they weren't really able to score. But DeAndre Swift breaks down the sideline. They score a touchdown. They're back into the game. Bears force, I wouldn't say 3 now, but they force the Commanders to punt, and they get the ball all the way down to the goal line. And they decide to give it to a backup center at the goal line. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, who drew this up? Like, you have DeAndre Swift, and they have another running back who's actually really good, end up scoring for them on the next drive. But you didn't think to give it to DeAndre Swift at all. They tried to throw a back shoulder pass to fucking Rome Odunze. That was a shit call. And then on the next play, you give it to a lineman and he fucking fumbles. Like, bro, he's a lineman. And then Eberflus at the podium at the end of the game was like, yeah, we'll practice that. We practiced it 100 times. Like, Who let you practice this 100 times in practice? Like, what are we doing? I thought Caleb made a lot of insane plays down the stretch of this game. And I get that he didn't play well for the entirety of the game. But he led his team basically in 2 game-winning drives. Obviously, they weren't game-winning because they lost. But they get the ball back after the fumble. Caleb leads them down again, and they end up scoring this time because they gave the ball to a running back, because that's what you're supposed to do. And then, they score with 20 seconds left. First play, Jaden Daniels throws the ball in the dirt. Second play, they get a decent chunk of yardage, which basically puts them at midfield to Terry McLaurin. And then they decide to, rush 3 guys, and they had a spy on Jaden Daniels. Why are we spying Jaden Daniels with zeros on the clock? He's going to run for 50 yards? I doubt that's going to happen. Just put another rush 5. Just rush 5 and put a whole bunch of guys back. Create some pressure on them. You got the fucking DB Stevenson is talking shit to the fans. He doesn't even know the play is going on. The fans are pointing. They're pointing at the play like the play is starting. Like, bro, turn around. And these are Commander fans that are saying that. Like, bro, like the play's going on. What the fuck are you doing? Get your head out of your ass. And then, you're supposed to knock the ball down. Like you let somebody get behind you, and then we all know what happened. It's literally everywhere I look. I can't fucking forget about it because I'm on Good Morning America. They're talking about the fucking play. Like, does the whole world have to know that I lost money? This is insane.
You know what's funny is that the guy that was looking at the crowd was the guy who tipped it.
The guy that was looking at the crowd tipped the ball, and like we could have won an extra $500. But hey, they didn't want to. They decided to not. It's bad coaching by the Bears. Like, they weren't even supposed to win that game, and they had a chance to win. And so a lot of Commander fans are I'll say I talked to my cousin after the game was over, and he said, and I quote, "Yeah, these guys are all turned up. It's pretty insane how it's like what it is right now." So it was very like eye-opening on what the Commanders can be going forward, the type of season that they're probably going to have off of that Hail Mary, and kind of where the Bears are. Like, they have a bunch of talent, but like their coaching is like holding them back.